So now we see Larry Bird give his first compliment towards Magic Johnson's game as we start to see Magic Johnson separate himself as far as championships going towards the Detroit Pistons. Let's get into it.
After vanquishing Bird in '87, Magic wasn't done winning. The following year, he squared off in the finals against his good friend Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons, beating them to become the NBA's first repeat champions in 2 decades. By the dawn of the 90s, he'd won 5 titles, played in 8 finals, and equaled Bird's MVP tally of 3. But the more Magic won, the less Irvin seemed to be around to reap the spoils.
Once I tasted the champagne and the championship, I wanted more of that and more of that. So Magic kept growing because we were successful. And the persona and all that came with that.
The Prince of LA was now the king. And in Hollywood, being royalty had its perks.
What was Irvin Johnson's
the
vice?
smile he just had,
you know,
bro.
my publicist wants me to say.
Bro, Arsenio Hall, you funny, dog. Look.
And in Hollywood, being royalty
Look
had
at
its
this
perks.
dude's smile.
What was Irvin Johnson's vice?
You know they was getting down.
Now you know my publicist wants me to say winning.
You know they were having
But
fun.
women loved Irvin.
Back then, before voicemail, they used to have these mail slots in the hotels where you leave your key. And when we get into a town, Irvin's mail slot would be so packed, and it would be just Susan and a phone number, Linda and a phone number, Joyce and a phone number. I mean, that was every city, every time.
I was on top of my game as Magic, so I needed all that around me at that time. The women, the this, the that, Hollywood.
He kind of got engulfed in it a little bit.
Magic was living in a context of sybaritic excess from the minute he walked in the door, and he developed a sweet tooth for it.
Sex with several women at the same time.
Yeah. Like I said, women have different fantasies. Some want to be with 2 or 3 at a time. You know, one time I had 6 at one time. That's just...
I really do believe he looks upon Magic Johnson as a movie character he played. I think Irvin got overwhelmed in LA by what it meant to be a star.
That's probably true that the Magic ego swallowed Irvin a little bit, but that's okay because I couldn't win 5 championships without that.
And another thing is kind of like, we've never seen, whether I think at that time the NBA has, or even NBA players have never seen people, you know, I guess get this famous playing basketball. You know what I mean? So he's kind of the first person to be like the most famous person in basketball to be experiencing these kind of things. And we can, and after we see how Magic Johnson, the choices he made, I would guarantee you other players after that, you know, saw it for what it really is and were able to make better decisions based off the decisions he made. You know what I mean? You don't want to get too engulfed in the spotlight and the glitz and the glamour and the women, just for this very reason, man. So let's get back into it.
But that's okay because I couldn't win 5 championships without that.
Through all of this haze of women and money and fame and fortune, he still kept basketball at number 1. He never seemed to lose that focus.
Right.
Larry had 2 jobs his last 7 years of playing. It was playing basketball, and then it was him being committed to taking care of his back.
He had first heard it in 1985, building the driveway at his mom's house back in French Lick.
Larry decides to do it himself. This is Larry Bird, the superstar, out there breaking his back, literally
Making the
shoveling
driveway.
gravel.
That's
And that was the
wild.
beginning of a process.
I would see him on TV laying down, and then they told me that he had to lay down on planes, different things like that. And I was like, wow.
As Magic soared through the prime of his career, Bird was breaking down, his deteriorating back and punishing style of play proving an excruciating mix.
From 88 to 92, it was painful to watch. It was painful to cover. Larry is quite ornery when he's not feeling well, which means he was ornery for those next 4 years.
He could manage the pain in a way that very few people can do. There'd be days he could come in the office and he couldn't stand up straight.
But even after 2 ruptured Achilles tendons and surgery on his back in 1991, Bird kept going to work. Product of a lesson learned many years before, seeing the swollen ankle of a man long since gone.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know if it broke or not, but it looked broke to me. Had to go to work and he had to get his boot on, and it took everything I had to help him get that boot on his foot. And he stood up limping, and he says, well, I'll see you this weekend, because he was working construction at the time. And I was pretty amazed how he could fight through that all week, then come home on the weekend, and it was black and swollen, and he'd sit around on the weekend and put that boot on and go again. If you get paid to go to work, you got to go to work.
It was a situation that he was seeing almost daily. He had lost the structural stability in his spine. So it would slip into abnormal positions to try and lock itself to get an artificial stability. That's like getting your finger stuck in a door and somebody's still pushing on the door. So what we had to do was unlock his spine, realign it, do techniques that would hold that for 4 hours, 6 hours, that type of thing, and then he'd go play basketball.
That's crazy, bro.
I would play. I was wondering if I was going to be in a wheelchair. Was I ever going to be able
right.
to, you know,
long term,
walk on the beach or hold my kids?
His pain and his quest for basketball became all-encompassing. Very few people really knew what Larry was living with, because this was Larry's issue, and there was no sharing of his pain.
You know, I probably should have retired in 88, 89, but it's that competition. Maybe one more chance, maybe Magic get together in the finals, but it never happened.
I'm sleeping, really, laying down, just waiting on the game, and you know, phone rings, and the voice says, "Hey, you got to come back to L.A." And I said, "Okay, why?" "Well, I can't tell you until you get to L.A." So I said, "Okay."
2 hours later, he was in the office of Lakers team physician Michael Melman.
Dr. Melman starts to tell me that, you know, through the physical that I took, that they discovered that I had HIV. First time ever in my life. I'm such a control freak, right? And do things the right way. I'm out of control. Oh, it was everything. How is it possible? What happened? How did it happen to me? And my mind is racing, you know, and then you're just devastated.
Further complicating things, Magic had got.
I think for him, he probably saw it on TV, he probably heard about it, whatever, but he didn't think it. It's one of those things, like he just said, how did this happen to me? It's not real until it hits home, you know what I mean? Crazy. But the lifestyle, man, you know what I mean? It's always best to, you know, try to hold it down, get you a good woman, hold her down and treat her good and call it a day, man. That's for a man. And then, you know what I mean, you choose the right one, she'll push you up and make you still achieve your dreams. Choose the wrong one, you know what I mean, you're not going to go in the direction you want to go in. But it's always best to just have one and see how far you can go, you know what I mean, and chase your dreams. Let's get back into it.
And then you're just devastated.
Further complicating things, Magic had gotten married just 2 months earlier, and he feared the worst for his new bride, Cookie.
Oh, man.
Who was pregnant with their first child.
I don't know what's going to happen with my wife and my baby. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't have control of the situation, and I was lost just for that next 2 or 3 weeks.
And after Magic learned neither his wife nor his unborn child were infected, he began revealing the news to his inner circle.
The phone rang, and it was Magic's agent, Lon Rosen. And he said, "Irvin's looking for you, call him." And I said, "I'll call him when I get to Paramount." And he says, "Call him now." I said, "Lon, I'll call him when I get to Paramount. I'll be there in 20 minutes. And he said, "You got to call him now. Irvin's HIV positive." I remember I was sitting on the bed. I remember standing up at that point. And I said, "How is that possible?" I'm thinking Irvin's gonna get skinny and die. I mean, literally, that's what I thought. Irvin's gonna get skinny and die.
The first person I thought of was Larry. I wonder what Larry thinks.
The day that I heard about Magic, it just sort of changed my love for basketball. It shook me up. You know, you get that feeling, probably the same type of feeling I had when my father died.
He wants to understand why, you know, how can I talk to him? I need to speak to him. It was just really important for Larry to talk to him.
You know, sort of, I don't know. I wanted to hear it from him, probably didn't believe it.
Facts. I feel that.
Calls me, we're talking, you know, it's just, "How you doing? I heard about it." And you can almost hear both of us with some tears in our eyes. And I'm choked up because he did call me. And, you know, when something happens, to you, and then you find out who really your friends are.
Facts.
and people who really care about you. You figure all those battles, all those things we had to go through as warriors, as competitors, and as men. And here this man says, hey, you know what, man, you're okay. And so that was the greatest moment for me too, you know, to have him check on me and to make sure I was okay.
First of all, let me say good after late afternoon. Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today.
It's the only press conference I've ever been in where I've seen reporters cry. I mean, we thought this guy was in total denial.
I plan on going on, living for a long time, bugging you guys like I've always have.
We thought the smile was going to be wiped off his face forever, and he was going to die, but we're going to watch him die in public.
I just remember in the room, he was joking, and I'm sitting there looking at him crying, and he's like, Coop, man, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. It's going to be all right.
I am going to go on, I'm going to beat it, and I'm going to have fun.
Sure, come on. You're going to beat this? And to him, it was a contest. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, AIDS and Magic Johnson, it's same thing. It's just a different game, different rules, but I'm still going to win.
He wasn't planning on going nowhere. Urban was planning that day to find the right medicine, to eat right, get rest, and live forever. That's what he was planning.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
But as Magic put up a positive public face, his nemesis, still out of sorts, shed the mask he had hidden behind for years.
He was visibly like, wow, how could that happen? You know, it really set him back.
Probably the two toughest days I've had since my father passed away. And I've been very depressed and sort of been out of it.
Bro, that's
I
a
listened to him
crazy
talk in this press
statement
conference
to
about how
make,
devastated
bro.
he was. And I remember thinking to myself,
That's wild.
you know, goddamn, Larry found Irvin.
You know, just out of the blue, something like that happening. It's just, I've never had, other than one other instance, and I was hoping I'd never see that again because I remember how I felt weeks after that. And yesterday was just a sad day.
Damn.
And at his game that night, Bird was...
That just shows you how important Magic was to Bird, bro. You know what I mean? He compared it to his father passing away. The feeling of it. This is just NBA players. It's just, you know, that became friends. It's crazy.
Yesterday was just a sad day.
And at his game that night, Bird was forced to confront pain he couldn't so easily play through.
Didn't want to be there that night. First time ever. And really last. I remember we played in Atlanta. Had no feel for the game, you know. This wasn't a good time to be out there. Never had that before.
That night he threw a pass. I'll never forget, he threw a half-court pass behind his back for a layup. And if you blurred your eyes, you squinted your eyes, it looked like magic. And it was Larry saying goodbye.
You know, I mean, this competition thing is amazing, what it does to you. What you put your body through and what you do and what you say and how you feel. And knowing that he's not there wouldn't feel right. But I think it's all them years that, you know, what's he doing? What if he's practicing this hard? I bet he shot 500 shots a day and I didn't get 500 in. It's always that mind games.
Bird played through the 91-92 season, his last in the NBA, but a part of him was already gone.
I didn't check the papers anymore, you know, it didn't matter. I still want to compete, you know, but it wasn't the same. It really wasn't.
With the exception of that year when he was called Tragic Johnson, because on the basketball court, things didn't shake down properly.
Wow.
This is the first time I'm hearing...
Who posted that?
Tragic Johnson.
The sporting
With the
news?
exception of
That's
that year
messed
when
up.
he was called Tragic Johnson, because on the basketball
That's messed
court,
up.
things didn't shake down properly. This is the first time I'm hearing
That's messed up.
ignorance,
I ain't gonna lie.
hatred, vicious, nasty things.
There was some of my former teammates who had their own little things that they were talking about and why this happened to me.
You know anybody else that's heterosexually got it? Come on, man. You in denial. I've been called gay, faggot, Urban's lover. I've been called all that shit.
Lon Rosen got a call from Isaiah Thomas asking, you know, I keep hearing Magic's gay. And Lon said, well, for crying out loud, you know better than anybody. He isn't. You're one of his best friends. And he said, well, we don't know what's going on in Hollywood. And the fact that Isaiah was questioning why he got this, I think it was really, really hurtful to him.
He used to say, you know, I don't want people to stop shaking my hand and giving me my hugs. He loves to be loved. And that's what bothered him the most, that people would change. in relationship to him.
He would show up at the Lakers facility to work out and to shoot some baskets, and he'd try to engage his teammates and say, hey, you want to play a little one-on-one before practice? And, oh, geez, no, I can't. I got to go get taped. Or, oh, geez, I got work to do. I got to do something else.
The worst thing of all this, that I couldn't play basketball. I don't even think dealing with HIV. It was, I couldn't play.
The game, the surroundings was his whole world. That's his personality. When you take that away, you know, you're hurting. I knew he was hurting in a big way.
The only sex is safe sex, and that's no sex.
As basketball went on without him, Magic performed ably in his new role as HIV educator and spokesman.
I'm helping every way that I can.
Right.
But he still pined for the arena, which had made him a star. So when he was invited to play in the 1992 NBA All-Star Game, he jumped at the chance, promptly stealing the show and winning MVP honors. But that was just a warm-up. For the encore, Magic had up his sleeve.
He's not done yet, because we're going to go to Barcelona and bring back the gold for everyone here in the United States.
Come on,
For
Bird.
the first time ever, NBA players
Look at Barkley.
And Magic, armed with a message, was not about to miss
That
the
team
show.
was nasty.
It would have proved to people that you were not going to get the disease playing against me. And then also for me too, personally, you know, it was therapy. It was a way to say, man, yeah, you get to do this one more time.
There was also one other perk.
I think playing with Larry was very important. That's something they talked about. I mean, he was going to be on the dream team. He was going to be with Michael. He was going to be with Barkley. But he was going to
Bro,
play
that
with Larry.
team, bro, what? Jordan,
I just want to get
Barkley.
you out on that court one more time. Let's just have
That,
one more
bro,
sequence
Magic,
like we had
Bird
all the way
on the
back in
same-
1978. But it was interesting that with Magic being the one that was HIV positive, he felt great. He was in the best shape of his life. He had worked so hard to make sure he didn't go there as a token player, and here was Larry, who couldn't even practice, who could barely move.
But you know what? Didn't matter.
This is La Vie en Rose.
Man laying down on the pine. Look at that. Uh-huh.
And when he got his opportunity, he switched a few.
I see La Vie en Rose.
Uh-huh.
Who's taking the last shot with the game on the line?
When I got my opportunity, I still was Magic.
Ooh.
14 years after they'd first crossed paths, the smiling kid from Lansing and the shy boy from French Lick were happily back together in Barcelona. But it took just one glance outside their hotel's front door each morning for them to see that as far as they had come, they were as far apart as ever.
The only way you walk out that door if you wanted attention. But I asked this guy, I know, how can you get around this? There's got to be a way. Lo and behold, there was a side door. You can go wherever you want. I was going to tell him about it, but seeing that smile on his face, the closer you got to that front door, come on. He didn't want no side door, you know, Irvin. You go right in the middle.
Thanks.
Turn the long way. There you go.
I'm going out the front because that's who I am. I don't go out the back. I don't go out the side.
That's not me. If you want to go somewhere in a hurry, there's a door that leads you there. I found it.
I respected him for that. And so, hell, I would try to find a side door for him. And we never tried to change each other. That's what made this relationship great.
One of my pet peeves always is when people say, oh, Michael Jordan saved the NBA. Bullshit. Bullshit. Magic and Larry saved the NBA. That's who saved the NBA. Magic and Larry.
Magic and Larry. Bird and Magic. To the millions who once watched them, now more than ever, they are inseparable. A pair of athletes thrown together by the cosmos to compete. A pair of men who discovered a bond in the midst of that competition. Decades removed from the height of their rivalry, their bond endures. Two impossibly different men with a connection only they can fully grasp.
It's almost like a private little club, and only the two of them are in it. And every once in a while, they need to show up to have a reunion and pay their dues to each other. But they don't need the day-to-day contact that most friends need. It's just not that kind of relationship.
But I always get this good feeling when I know I'm going to see him because he makes you feel good. You know, he really does. He's unbelievable.
He's very private, but if he's your friend, man, you got a friend for life.
That's what's
And Larry
up.
Bird is a straight shooter. He'll tell you when he don't like you. That's one thing I wish I could have from that he has that I don't have. I wish I had that.
I mean, he walked in here, this whole room would change, and maybe that's what I always wanted to be, but I just couldn't.
Dope. All right, so that was the 4-part series, you guys. I want to give you guys a special shout out for requesting this video. 2, if you made it this far along in the series, all the way to part 4 to the end, and I appreciate you guys. This was dope. This is an amazing story, kind of like almost of just opposite personalities, opposite attractions coming together and just making a beautiful time and a beautiful, like, just, I don't know, a story for America to just sit back on and enjoy, man. You got 2 folks from separate parts of the country. You know, you got Magic, Showtime, glitz, glamour, you know, Spotlight, Hollywood. And then you have Larry Bird, reserved, private, hardworking, just dedicated to the craft. When they come together, it's Showtime. But people can learn to take away, you know, a few things from both of them as far as their character and as far as their personalities go.